Touchdown!
I told y'all at the beginning of the week, there's nothing that's going to keep me off that football field.
Don't underestimate how tough Patrick Mahomes is.
Everything we work for is for this moment. You have to enjoy this moment. You can't let the moment overtake you.
The Chiefs' kingdom will raise a banner above the National Football League again.
Champions once again. Congratulations. Last night, Patrick Mahomes joined Tom Brady as the only other quarterback to lead multiple double-digit Super Bowl comebacks. He's just the 7th player to win the regular season and Super Bowl MVP in the same season, and the youngest quarterback to do so. So, guys, he now has 2 Super Bowl wins, 3 appearances in 5 years. All 5 years went to the AFC Championship game. Dan Orlovsky back here with us. I want to start with you, Stephen A. Can Mahomes get close to Brady's 7 rings?
I think he can. I think he can because I think when you see the importance of the quarterback position, how dynamic and mercurial he is, as Ryan highlighted, you can't prepare for him. Yeah. To me, there was a bigger question mark coming into this season whether or not he could pull that off, because the last time we saw him in the Super Bowl, even though he was the best player, they had gotten thoroughly outplayed collectively by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and had lost to Tom Brady and those guys. But to lose Tyreek Hill in the offseason, who I consider to be one of the best receivers, one of the top 3 to 5 receivers in the National Football League, if not higher. To lose a Tyreek Hill and to still have the #1 offense in points, in yards, and the #1 passing attack in the National Football League, and then to go in the playoffs to beat Jacksonville, to beat the Cincinnati Bengals, and then to go up against a vaunted Philadelphia Eagles defense, be down 10 points, on one leg basically, and come back and beat them in the second half. When you pull stuff like that off, it's very, very difficult to talk about what you can't do. Mm-hmm. He has shown that there's very little he can't do as a quarterback. And when you consider their structure, the leadership, Andy Reid announced he's coming back after the game. I'm coming back. He's not retiring. Andy Reid is going to still be there. The ownership led by the Hunts are in place. You have stability in your front office. You have stability with your coaching. And obviously you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, who ain't about to go anywhere for the foreseeable future. And they've got a lot of young guns there. One could easily argue they're in a better situation than Philadelphia because, as Booger McFarland and Steve Young were pointing out last night with Boomer, Patrick Mahomes is already signed. Mm-hmm. He's already taken up 17% of your cap. So as a result of that, you're able to still do things because you've been doing things around his numbers for years. The Eagles got to pay Jalen Hurts. Mm-hmm. And as a result of having to pay him, you're going to have to go out there and let other guys go that helped you get to this point. So I look at it from that perspective and I say, yeah, he can pull it off.
Dan, what are your thoughts? Because, 2 is very impressive, but 7's still a long way away.
Yeah, I absolutely think he can. And because of the player that he is, we have no empirical data from his time as a starter to say that he won't. We have everything that says he's going to be winning division titles, and he's going to be in conference championships, and he's going to go to the Super Bowl. I think the question, Molly, for me, because you guys know where I stand on Patrick. I've got him as the 2nd best quarterback ever, right? So because of all that, I think the thing is, what would make him not get close? And I think that there's a couple things, because if we look at this football team right now, Molly, I tell you this, going into next year, they're right around middle of the pack when it comes to salary cap space, and they'll probably create even more. That's outrageous. Only 2 teams in the NFL this year had more snaps played by rookies than the Kansas City Chiefs. 1, the Chicago Bears. 2, the Houston Texans. They're number 1 and 2 in the picking in the NFL draft. The 3rd team that had rookies play the 3rd most snaps in the NFL this year, the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. That's unheard of, okay? They got 11 draft picks next year. So they're set up to go on even more consistent runs. Why would he fall off, or why would the not get close to 7? How long does Andy Reid coach? And I don't think that, I don't want to discredit Andy Reid. I don't think there's going to be this massive drop-off, but Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches ever, Hall of Famer. So how long does he coach to be a part of that? I think how well they draft, because you're going to have to supplement. And here's the crazy thing. In 2 or 3 years, Patrick Mahomes is going to be like the 7th least expensive or 7th most expensive quarterback in football. Right now, he's like second or third. Next year, I think he's third or fourth. So his salary is only going to be a benefit to this football team in the next 3 or 4 years when it comes to how much money he's owed in comparison to the salary cap. I don't see a major issue or a major thing that's going to pop up that is going to hinder Patrick Mahomes from getting another 2 or 3 Super Bowls in the next 5 or 6 years and putting him right around 4 or 5 with the back half of his career still left. Other than injuries, God, forsake that, there's a lot set up for him.
You know what's so crazy is Patrick Mahomes is so good that we're desensitized to how hard it is to win Super Bowls. And Tom Brady won so many, we just automatically think it's possible. Right? Don't get me wrong. I agree that.
I don't automatically think it's 5 more.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying we, as in the fact that we're having this conversation and it's so normalized. Let's think about when Brady started his career. You had that run. I think it was 03 to 07 where you win. Then I think it was like 14 to 18. But there's a span in that where Brady doesn't win a Super Bowl, where you lose, what was it, 07, and you lose in.
He went 10 years.
Right, you lose in 2011. The reason that Tom Brady's able to reach 7 is because he plays until he's 45. And it's great to think that everybody can play until they're 45, but we haven't seen Drew Brees get to that, who played an incredibly long time. We haven't seen Brett Favre get there. Aaron Rodgers is now tailing off, and we're trying to make a decision. Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, none of these players are Patrick Mahomes. But what I'm saying is, even in these extended careers, we don't see people play as long as Tom Brady. You don't get an opportunity to have that low. And though I do feel that Patrick Mahomes is far superior of a talent than all of those quarterbacks, it's just difficult to win them. And when you get there, you say, I'm going to be back the next year. But 7? That's 5 more.
Well, listen, like I said, we're asking the question just to crystallize it for the viewer. We're asking the question because we know he has the skill set and the resume that warrants the question.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now when we know that warrants the question, let me tell you something, Ryan. I'm not thinking about Patrick Mahomes or anybody else playing 22, 23 years in the NFL. What we should be marveling about with Patrick Mahomes is that, let's just say for the sake of argument, it's 12. Let's cut it in half.
Yep.
We're looking at the possibility that he could pull that off in 12 years. I'm not saying
No, you're right. No, you're right.
It's like, wow, because when you started for 5 years, and you've never been out of the AFC Championship game in all 5 years.
But I keep bringing it up, and I hate to keep doing basketball. There are no more questions about this young man.
He was incredible last night, and I mean, it almost seems laughable that the questions about him at one point were about his ability to throw the ball with accuracy. Some of those throws to Goddard, I mean, the contested throws that he was making, that they had to be literally in the tiniest of windows, that he put exactly on the money. I thought he was sensational.
That's the best game I've ever seen Jalen Hurts play. And Greeny, to your point, some of those throws to Dallas Goedert, honestly, I was up in the booth with Lewis and Levy calling, and we were like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, he made 3 or 4 throws you shouldn't even attempt.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, because they're so tight and so dangerous, and they were perfectly placed. And I remember the throw he made against the Giants game this season, and I came on TV and I was like, I've never seen a quarterback improve when it comes to ball placement the way Jalen Hurts has. And that was accurate. That was a factual statement. His performance last night
that third
was
14.
Oh my gosh.
14 corner pass to Goddard was an interception. If you are 1 inch off in any direction, it's an interception, and he throws it and completes it. And to have the confidence to take a shot like that means he really has faith in his arm. And as athletic as he was and how important his rushing attempts are to this offense's decision making, we don't want to overlook the fact that also he's turned into a pinpoint accurate quarterback too. He's risen up to that level.
4 touchdowns and lost.
He was spectacular last night. I opened the show by saying I thought he was the best player on the field. Bart gave me a funny look. Now, I understand Mahomes. I'm not suggesting he should have been the MVP in defeat. Don't get me wrong. But I mean, if you ask me who was the best player on the field last night, I thought it was Hurts. Ninko, we've talked so much about him going into these games. You know, they got to hit him and all that kind of stuff. His ability to play with that shoulder. I mean, he looked 100% healthy, and I agree with Dan. He had a brilliant season. I thought last night was the best game I saw him play all year long.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And, there was one thing in this game that I kept saying to myself as a defensive lineman, linebacker, short yardage with the Eagles and Hurts and what they're able to do in those yard-to-go situations, goal-to-go situations with that quarterback sneak. Everybody in the stadium knew exactly what was coming, but Kansas City could not stop it. It was that front. It was that scrum down low. It was Jalen Hurts using that strength and the guys behind him pushing him forward. I mean, that is really one of those plays that's a toughness measure. Like, who's tougher? Where you have to go 1 yard. Can you stop us? And every single time in that formation, the Eagles were able to just basically hold